So in this lesson we're going to look at some of the principles behind creating an effective secondary logo and an effective submark. And this can be really simple and really straightforward. So let's dive into it. For my example here, this is my full logo lockup. I'm very happy with this. I think it looks well balanced. But there are some situations where there's just too much detail in this logo. Where something more simple might be better. So I'll show you a few examples of this in action. Here's a mock-up for a landing page if this brewery had a website, and you can see this secondary logo fits so much better than the full badge logo would, placed in this narrow band at the top of our header. So you can see from a practical standpoint, it's useful to arm your client with something they're able to use that best fits each situation. Here's another example, and perhaps a compliment slip, or it would be the same case on a letterhead. Again, a slightly simplified secondary logo where it has a more horizontal shape so it can fit into or feel better balanced in spaces that our badge logo might struggle. And one last example we'll consider. This is a mock-up of a wax seal. So if a brewery wanted to use something like this, you can see the full badge logo, it works, and the circular shape certainly fits the circular space we have on the wax seal here. But look how much better something like that would work. It's clearer, it's simpler, it doesn't look messy, and because there's lots of space. And this is using just a portion of the logo to create a submark. It's still recognizable, it's distinct, it's on brand. So this is what we're aiming to create. Let me share with you my thought process for getting there so that you're able to create something similar for yourself. So for a standalone emblem or perhaps brand mark, that can be the most distinct portion of your logo, and you can simply pull that out and provide that to your client by itself as a standalone graphic. There's not really enough here for this to be a submark for me. So I created this, which uses the O from the center of our logo along with that mark. And I think that's just distinct and unique enough that that's really a perfect representation of the brand. Now, this isn't something you'd ever use if you could use the full or the secondary version of the logo. But there are some places, if you think of a favicon for a website, or sometimes even the profile picture for your Snapchat, your Instagram. It's such a small area that you can't effectively read the full logo. You just want a hint of a company's identity, and then it's going to be linked to a profile page or somewhere that you can find more information anyway. So a submark is a really useful design tool to equip your clients with, and you can create it as simply as that, just by pulling out one or two distinct elements. And lastly, our secondary logo. I've created this using components of a main logo, but they're actually presented differently. So we have the same font for brewery, but this time I've actually presented this on a straight line. There's no curve to that at all. And although the crown sits just above the main evoke logo type in our full logo, in this version I've positioned the crown in the center, which I think is quite effective, and I've made sure the angle of that slash it lines up nicely between the O and the crown. That in turn ties in with our submark. So when you look at these elements together, there's a really nice synergy there. They feel coherent. It feels like you're looking at the same brand. There's no mistaking whether this is a different brand, but this gives a great deal of versatility to your client. So try to do the same. In principle, try to pick out key recognizable elements of your main logo, use that to create a submark, and for the secondary logo, think about orientation. So if your primary logo fits really nicely into a square or a circle, try to come up with something, perhaps using less of your elements. I've removed my tagline, I've chopped away the established, refine it down to just the core components that are needed, and create an alternative. So please do that with your own version as part of a class project. And when you're finished, join me in the next lesson where finally we explore color palettes and we'll add some color to this design.